John Joseph Paul was born on August 17, 1918, to Roland and Louise Paul of La Crosse, Wisconsin. He was the oldest son in the family of 10 children, including 4 sisters and 6 brothers. Johnny Paul, as he was known in La Crosse, grew up in the shadow of St. Joseph's Cathedral. He attended Cathedral Grade School and Aquinas High School, where he was active in many sports, but was outstanding in baseball and basketball.
He had ball games to go to, even in high school, he was playing ball all the time. And of course, when he got during the summer months, he was playing baseball with the American Legion.
But I remember him very much when I was a boy, because he was kind of a legend in La Crosse. He was a baseball player that I remember seeing on the Franz tire team. They were the sponsors. I remember seeing him as a catcher in baseball, and he was good.
Upon graduation, he attended Loras College, then called Columbia College, in Dubuque, Iowa. Known as a natural athlete and leader, he excelled in many sports.
As he developed a catcher there, he got to be a catcher at Loras too, and he played ball with them.
Though he would never talk about it, John became quite well known for his prowess on the basketball court.
I remember after a game down in Cotter High School, he took 3 or 4 of us seniors in the car. We went down to La Crosse, stayed overnight in his mother's house, went down to Dubuque, Iowa. Never suggested anybody ever attend Loras College. We were just going down there to see a ball game. And of course, he walks into the field house, and the manager, the professional manager, comes out, and of course, he's all over Father Paul. He's obviously one of the local heroes. And then we're at the game. We go early, and we're sitting behind the scorer's table. And all of a sudden, some adults right behind us said, "There's Johnny Paul." Well, of course, we'd never heard anybody address Father Paul as Johnny Paul, and we would never dared. He was always Father Paul. And they began to talk about this guy, whom we thought we knew pretty well. We were high school seniors then. And they started talking about all of his athletic achievements while he had been at Loras. And boy, we gained an added amount of respect, learning that he had done things we never had heard about, and of course, never from him.
John Paul was inducted into the Loras College Athletic Hall of Fame in 1983 for his accomplishments in baseball, basketball, and football.
Johnny Paul never looked back. One of the amazing things about him, you could hang around him a lot, and he never ever talked about games that he played, about times, when he had the winning shot. One time, Loras played Marquette, 3 overtimes. Paul scores the final basket. They carry him off the field, off the floor. They put him on the shoulders down at Loras College, and they carry him off the basketball floor. Okay, he would never talk about that kind of thing.
In 1939, the clergyman catcher, as one local sports writer liked to call him, was offered a chance to try out for the Chicago Cubs. Instead, John followed God's calling and entered St. Mary's Seminary in Baltimore, Maryland, a decision he never regretted. He was ordained a priest at the St. Rose of Viterbo Convent in La Crosse on January 23, 1943. From his earliest years, Father Paul loved working with children. Many recall how the young man dedicated his college summers to the orphans at St. Michael's.
I remember seeing him as a lifeguard out at St. Michael's Orphanage, and I know that as a seminarian, he was reaching out already to the kids who were underprivileged, and he had this great big heart.
His mother once told people that he used to run from his home on 8th Street all the way to St. Michael's to work with the boys in the garden, take them boating or fishing, and teach them how to play baseball.
And he used to go there and work in the summertime when he was in the seminary. And even already then, his connection with the young boys that were there, they were hard as rocks, but not around him, because he was just like a father to them, and they followed him around like like little mice, you know, and he took them all over.
His first assignment after ordination was assistant pastor of St. Patrick's Parish and teacher at St. Patrick's School in January 1943.
I would have been in 7th or 8th grade when he came to Eau Claire, and I think all the young people in the parish immediately fell in love with him, and so did the parish, and so did most of Eau Claire as time went by. He was a remarkable figure, attractive, charismatic, very intelligent, and a manly man.
Well, at St. Pat's and Regis, from the earliest time that he was there, I think he plunged into the school. He just had a natural rapport with youth. That was an apostolate that just was as natural as drinking a glass of water. And so the opportunity was there under Casper Dowd, the previous pastor to Monsignor Brady. And Monsignor Brady really gave him full authority because he had tremendous trust in him.
From the beginning of his priesthood, Father Paul inspired all who knew him with his enthusiasm and dedication to Catholic education.
I don't think there was ever as dynamic a high school with great activity intellectually. I taught seniors. We won a state debate contest. We did very well, undefeated in football. We were state basketball champions. But also, the students were high achievers intellectually.
Bishop Paul, I think he, with his education, taught you that there's a lot more to life than just sports. There's a great religious education.
I think his dedication to the education part of the whole thing was his primary thing. He did it in such a way that he was very unselfish. It was all about somebody else. If he had to help somebody, kids were in trouble, he was a great guidance counselor. I don't know, he just all-around great man, great priest, and somebody that you really respected, and totally unselfish.
There weren't any other athletic opportunities for girls in those days, and I wasn't an athlete athletically. I was athletically challenged. So I didn't have that experience, but I do remember this sense of you know, don't take the easy way, you know, do the right thing was very much a strong emphasis with Bishop Paul.
There's only one thing I can really say about him, and I'll do it this way. He was a great teacher. He was a great coach. And he was probably one of the finest priests around. But yet, with all of those things, Father Paul was a greater person.
He was very athletically inclined. He used to pitch for the softball team in the church league. He used to swim with us up on the Chippewa River. And we kind of all thought that athletics were really the big deal with Father Paul. And of course, after we got out of school and you get older, you find out that the athletics were very minor. He was interested in athletics, any other extracurricular thing that you did only in as far as it making you a better person, and that was the whole key to it.
Yeah, looking back, I mean, he was not only kind of a Renaissance man type guy, but he was very serious about education. I suppose some of the others have told you about when he used to come up, even in grade school, when they handed out report cards. I don't know if anyone told you these stories, but he used to kind of put pressure on people. He'd call each one up to the desk and review their report card, and then, you know, it was tough on some people. Made them think about how they were doing and so on.
I remember, you know, teaching us in class, And, you know, sometimes you'd be a little scared. You know, you didn't want to come without your work done. But I was a pretty good student, and I usually had my work done. But he would oftentimes ask questions that went beyond, you know, what you had prepared. You couldn't just give a rote answer. And I don't remember any specific incident, but I know that he always kind of wanted to go a little bit deeper. You know, you couldn't just give the rote answer like you could, you know, give back what the catechism says. That's not it. You have to, he tried to really help us to understand what it was. And I think that was good.
And he appeared to know everyone personally. And it was just, he was a wonderful man.
He gave us an assignment. He was, because of his name, he was devoted to St. Paul. And so he not only had us give book reports on St. Paul, but he had us make maps of St. Paul and his journeys. And then we had to write what St. Paul did on each of his journeys. So he gave me Father Paul gave me a good introduction to Middle East geography. So.
I can still picture him. He'd be wearing his cassock, a small office, and as people came in, you had the knowledge that he had a total and complete understanding of each of the students in the high school. He would know their parents, he would know their biography, he would know who they were dating, he would know how well they were doing in their studies and what they were doing in extracurricular activities, and he was totally on top of that high school.
To the students, the young athletic Father Paul was bigger than life.
I got to know who Bishop Paul was back in '43 because John Paul became the sort of the hero for all the young boys in town. He was only at St. Pat's about 3 or 4 weeks, and everybody in town knew him, and every kid was passing the word on and saying, hey, do you know the new priest down at St. Pat's?
Everything for us kids changed because all of a sudden the gym was open and the tumbling mats were out. We'd never seen one. And there was a basketball hoop, a couple of hoops put up on the playground, and of course Father Paul dug the holes and helped pour the concrete. And there's always a basketball stored just inside the screen door or inside the side door of the parish rectory, that any kid could come along, open the door, get the ball, and go out and play. That had never happened before. So there was more activity and more encouragement of activity.
Well, he was an imposing person, so just meeting him, you gain respect and admiration for the guy. So I think everybody that met him gained a lot in life.
He was a disciplinarian. He was a little rough on the boys. He was real strict. He'd give them a kick in the shin if they had to. The girls, he kind of left us alone.
He was very much a disciplinarian. He came when we were in the 3rd grade, and he started noon basketball games, 5-minute basketball games between the grades. And that's how things started to move at St. Pat's.
He was the toughest man that I have ever been around in a lifetime. And he was tough physically, tough mentally, tough spiritually. And if he had any effect, I don't claim to be tough, but if he had any effect, he had a toughening effect in all those areas.